Hi guys, it's Pastor Blake here with a quick drive-by. Check out these first 5 verses of Psalm 61 that jumped out at me today. Listen to this, written by David. Hear my cry, O Lord. Listen to my prayer. From the end of the earth I call to you when my heart is faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for you have been my refuge, a strong tower against the enemy. Let me dwell in your tent forever. Let me take refuge under the shelter of your wings. For you, O God, have heard my vows. You have given me the heritage of those who fear your name. Now, David wrote this psalm from a place where he was at the end of his rope. He was overwhelmed, and he cries out to the Lord. So here's a few things that jumped out at me today. And if you look at verse 5 first, where David remembers his identity as one of God's own. Because even though it's the Old Testament, we're hearing the same themes we hear as Christians, this decision to follow God. We've made a vow. David has made a vow. Because of that vow, God has given him a heritage. When you become a Christian, God gives you a heritage, and it's something that no one can earn. So remember your identity is one of God's own when you're overwhelmed. Secondly, when you remember that identity, you can realize something. First of all, you realize He hears us. That we can cry out to Him and He listens. We know that He is higher than us, and we also know that He is stronger than our enemies. So that is a great base to work with when you're being overwhelmed, when you're at the end of your rope, when you're in 2020. It's a great mindset to face the tough times with, because God has heard our vows, and it's based on that relationship we have. And lastly, it's because David calls that he doesn't get overwhelmed. So David's heart does not get overwhelmed by the circumstances. It's overwhelmed by God, this feeling that God has his back at the same time. So he's calling to God as his heart is growing faint. But it's only then that God leads him to the rock higher than himself. So when your heart is growing faint, but you're not calling out to God, all this stuff can get turned on its head, though, and we're not led to the rock that's higher than ourselves. We can get led to being the rock ourselves, like saying we're higher than everybody else. We lead ourselves to the cult of, you got this. So we're the highest in our own minds. And when we fall in those situations, what we end up doing is we end up blaming God then. So we haven't gotten to God. We get a little self-righteous, and when we fail, then we come to God and we blame Him. The only now we give God is when it's too late. So we end up having this heart full of self-righteous anger because we are good enough. We have done enough, and none of this should be happening to us. So even though you're a Christian, you can't forget to always be calling on the Lord. It's not some conjuring. It's not like rubbing a lamp and the genie comes out. It's just the way that we can take refuge in Him. So call on God. It's like walking into a dry, safe cave during a torrential hurricane. The cave is there, okay? But you have to walk into it. We'll catch you guys next time.